My name is Ronald L. French. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. Going through online, looking through YouTube, looking for some investors, home investors and things like that. And I've stumbled across a few, and they didn't catch my eye because they were too flashy. They were showing the fast cars, the big houses, the money, real quick money. And I came across Joe. And he just seemed down to earth. He was real down to earth. And the main thing that got me is when he said, you're not going to get rich quick. And I knew that when he said that, that was true, because I was self-employed for 15 years as a truck driver. And I retired from that, and I went to school for a physical therapist assistant. And I'm a physical therapist assistant. So when he said, you're not going to get rich quick, I knew that, and that was true. So that kind of made me decide to start following him online. I've done 3 deals in the last 4 or 5 months of rent to own. The last one I just closed out. I make over $4,500 after the deal is over. We just closed out actually before I came here. And that was it. We did a lease option memo for the owner. She was in California. She had property in Pensacola, and she was renting it out. And she was going through a property management company, and she just couldn't make any money between the repairs and things like that. And she asked me if I could help her. And I explained to her the whole situation, the lease option memo, how things could go. And she said, okay, let's try it. Well, initially she was a no. She came through on the auto marketer, and she told me she was fine. She didn't need any assistance. I said, okay. So I followed back up with her later on, and she was still a little hesitant, and she said no again, but she would think about it. Fast forward, a couple months later, we got on the phone again, and she was in panic mode. She had a property, and she had a couple properties in Pensacola. She called me and asked me if I could help her, and like I said, I explained everything to her, and I did the first deal for her. I found a lease option tenant for her within a week, and I made $2,500 off of it. She called back and said, hey, do you think you could do this again for me? I have another property there. And I said, yes. And we did another one. I made $4,000 off of that one. It took me about 2 or 3 weeks to get that one filled. It was in a nicer area. Of course, we were asking a different amount of money for rent. And we went from there. When you do the rent to own method, you do what Joe calls a lease option fee. And basically, that's your down payment from the seller, from the buyer. It gives a down payment to you to purchase the home for you doing all the work for them. And it's also your way of making money without taking anything from the seller because of what they're asking for. And that's how I got my down payment. This last deal took us about 2 months because the owner, she wanted a little bit more for a rent than what the market rent was worth. And I explained to her that I thought the rent was a little bit too high, and that we would probably have a hard time finding a buyer because most people have the down payment. They just haggle with the rent. And if it's too high, they don't want to pay it. And we ran through that for about 30 days. The owner finally agreed to bring the rent down, and it went pretty quick after that. It didn't take long. We went through a few more tenants to screen and things like that, and we found the right one, and now we closed out. It would be hard for me to say, but I didn't do much work. Most of my time was just showing the house, you know, people calling and wanting to see it. And it would take me 5-10 minutes to show the house every time I went by. The hard part was, like I said at the beginning, she didn't want to come down on the rent, so that's what took us the longest time. But once that went through, it was a pretty fast process. For the area that I'm working right now, in the last 4 or 5 months with these 3 deals that I've done, I'm averaging anywhere between $3,000 to $4,000 down between each property. Like I said, the first property was 25. This last other one was 4,000, and then this last one will be a little bit over 4,500. So I figure anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000. The first deal was 2,500, and I found a buyer for it within a week. With the new auto marketer system that we went to and switching over to a Zillow instead of scraping Craigslist, your leads are a little bit more solid. They're not as fluent and coming in vast majorities, but they're more solid. You get more credible leads. People are a little bit more serious about selling their homes. And so I think if everything keeps going the way it is, I think I'll be able to average at least 1 to 2 deals a month. So probably about 24 deals this month. That's what I'm thinking this year. Create wealth for generations to come in my family. Not be rich, but be wealthy, but to secure the next couple generations behind me, future, from my children to my grandchildren. And my main goal is to get my mother a home now. She's getting a little older, and she has a 2-level home, and I want to put her in a ranch style home, and I figure this is going to be the best way I can do it. The last 3 deals that I've done, it's been pretty good. I've taken half of the money and paid up bills. I've been able to pay cash for a few things, but I also was able to take half of that money and put up to pay for the mentor program and come here. Because I felt like if I'm doing this, just following Joe's videos and web seminars that he do online for you to follow, there's no telling how far I can go if I get in here and do the things that he's showing physically to us, and just listen to him and do what he wants us to do and follow it word for word. No, not full time yet. I do it in my spare time that I'm off. I get on there, I make phone calls. One thing that Joe teaches you is you got to have a little thick skin. You got to get used to people telling you no, but don't get discouraged. I can be living proof to that. I was able to do some deals by just being diligent and keep going. So that's it. Yes, my goal is to acquire enough properties to where I can quit working and just do this and let the passive income take care of everything. That's my goal. I know most people come into this saying they want to be a multi-millionaire and things like that. I figure if you do what you need to do, the money will come. But I just want security and freedom to go and come when I get ready. Well, it scrapes the Zillow. It scrapes the leads. And when you get a reply, I have it set up where I can even receive the replies through my cell phone. The auto marketer alert me and say, you have a new lead. I can click in it through my cell phone, and it'll explain to me what the person said. If they said no, or maybe, or yes, or please contact me. But if they say no, it'll follow up with them, and it'll keep text messaging them after so many times to either they say yes, or eventually they just say opt me out of the unsubscribe me please, or they say please contact me. And then when that happens, you go from there. It generates the leads. It has forms on it for you with contracts. It has questionnaires to try to help you navigate through the things that you need to do to be able to make you comfortable talking to your sellers. Because if you're like me, you get nervous when you get on the telephone with people. This kind of helps you out a little bit. It's worth it. I haven't scaled that large yet. When that time comes, I will. Right now, it's just me. And the deals that I'm doing, I'm in control of those right now. But if it gets to the point where I'm doing 2 to 3 deals a month, yes, I will. Take the first step. You have to jump. And don't be afraid. And have some thick skin, because it is pretty brutal at the beginning. You know, people are harsh, but you got to help them. They're upset because they don't know what to do. They don't have any options, or they don't think they have any options. And you're there to try to help them out, try to relieve some of the pain from them. And do like Joe tell you. Don't be so focused on making a lot of money. Focus on trying to help people first, and the money will come. Once you gain the trust of a seller, you never know where it can take you. Like I said, the lady I dealt with out of California who had property in Pensacola, after we did the first deal, she just contacted me again. And we did that deal. And then she ended up buying another property in Florida and asked me to do that deal. So you treat people right, you never know what kind of blessings will come behind it. And that's it.